Welcome to From Cover to Code, the Technology Book Club. Join us as we discuss artificial intelligence, DevOps, software development, cloud computing, and more. With your hosts, Angela Andrews and Michael Jenkins. The next episode of From Cover to Code starts now.
Hey! We are live and in the building
We are
once
back.
again. I know, and it's so good to be back.
It
Hashtag
is.
Tony Stark and everybody else who said it's good to be back.
It's good to be back, baby.
How are you doing, Angela?
I am maintaining. I am loving this weather. The rain has ended. Trying to get outside more. Trying to get up from this desk more. But otherwise, I'm great. Learning golf. Taking golf lessons, learning French. Your girl stay just like all over.
Okay.
So I'm busy, but it's okay.
Awesome.
How about you?
Very good. I am doing great. Also enjoying this transition from spring into summer. I'll be working into the afternoon at my desk, and I look out the window and I'm like, if the sun is still out, guess what? This work will wait for me until tomorrow. Yeah. I'm going to go outside and soak up some of the sun. I'm paying the Southern California tax for it, so I might as well just enjoy it while I can get it. So yeah, I am taking advantage of that as well. Got some trips lined up, so I'm looking forward to some travel. Working on some courses and some other material for the folks that I do business with. So I too am all over the map, just having fun with just everything I get my hands on.
That's what I'm talking about. Well,
indeed.
Angela and Michael are doing great, and we're doing even greater because we're back with From Cover to Code. So
let
that
me
part
tell
right
you,
there, we are back.
Yes, this is season 5. So that means we've covered 5 books, and I mean going on. I guess we're in the middle of our second year at this point.
Yeah.
5th season, and we got a new book. Something that is near and dear to my heart as far as the technology goes, and something that I hope to bring you into because I know you've had some stops and some starts with this particular technology.
More stops than starts, but I don't give up. I don't give up.
And that's the key. It's not how many times you fell, it's how many times you got back up and got back to it.
Amen.
That's what it's about.
So
I forgot to put the banner up, but yes, season 5. We are getting started with Terraform.
See,
yes, indeed. Angela's holding up her paper copy. I'm going to hold up my phone because I rock the Kindle version.
Always. I waste more money on paper books than I can shake a stick at. But guess what?
What's that?
It's my money, and I do what I want to. So,
yes, indeed.
I've already doodled all in the book. I have made my mark. Yeah, it's better for me that way. Don't get me wrong. I will read it on my Kindle app from time to time. And this book had a nerve to be an audio book on Audible.
I have the audio version as well. Yeah. And that I mean, we could talk about some of that experience.
Oh, yes, please do.
Listening to a technology book.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and the assignment for this particular meeting, it's the first time we're getting together, introducing the book, chapter 1, chapter 2. And I started on the audio before I had my Kindle copy. So I'm listening to it and it's making sense, but the recall is bananas. Like I'm not recalling anything my man said from paragraph to paragraph. And we talked about this earlier. There is some mechanism in the human brain that maybe it flows well for fiction or for some sort of narrative that binds characters and their stories together. But for technology, it's a little bit different, I think, when you're listening to it versus you're reading it with your eyes and taking notes and all that kind of stuff.
I might have to agree with you.
Yeah, it was rough. And then also the one thing that kind of gave me pause and I had some difficulty with the narrator for the book when he reads some of these keywords and some of these resource names or whatever, and he's like AWS _ resource name.
Fast forward.
Every time.
I don't want to hear any of it. I can understand it upstairs, especially if I do my 1-2 punch where I listen and read. Oh, till he gets back to a full sentence. Yeah, we're gonna keep.
Yeah, and I'm getting ahead of myself too. But when he was talking about like AMI IDs, and he was like AMI-30456788910, and I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna remember that AMI ID, for real. No, it's not gonna happen.
Okay, so the benefits are that it provides you the flexibility to listen on the go, which can be invaluable. The downside is you're listening and maybe you need the eye brain connection in order to transfer what you've just read into your, into your short-term memory and to your long-term memory. So I don't regret getting the audiobook. I don't at all. But I find that I've been more in the book because I did what you did. I started listening first and we had a conversation. I was like, I don't remember anything. I was on chapter 3 or something. I was like, I'm gonna have to take that back. To run that bad boy back. It didn't stick for me either. And reading it has just been much more enjoyable. Yeah.
I have to second that. Cool. So you want to get into this discussion?
Yes, please.
Starting with chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
Yeah, and I don't have any slides or anything to show. I got my notes on my side. I know you got your notes on your side. So we're just going to chop up this discussion as we go. Some of the main points that I pulled from chapter 1 were, I guess, the 3 point, and I'll call out mine. If you got some other ones you want to jump into that don't align or whatever cases, then of course we'll get into those. But what is infrastructure as code? What are the benefits of infrastructure as code? And then how does Terraform compare to other IAC, which is the shortened version of infrastructure as code? How does Terraform compare to other IAC tools? Anything else jump out at you before we get?
No, that is the order in which we'll approach this conversation. That works well with me.
Okay, cool. Very good. And for everybody who's joining us on the live stream, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you. If it's your first time joining us, if it's your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time joining us, welcome back to the live stream, to the replay.
We welcome you.
YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, MySpace, Facebook,
definitely check us
Instagram.
Out.
We are all over the social media map, I tell you.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Chapter 1.
Yes.
Which was titled Why Terraform. And I mean, he talked about DevOps, and then I just kind of skipped over that. I don't know. I feel like at this point, we as practitioners we're pretty familiar with DevOps. And I guess one thing to note is we are reading the 3rd edition, which was published about 3 years ago. And I mean, DevOps was pretty much in place by then, but there's still people that are coming on board with DevOps. So you still have to have a what is DevOps type scenario. But I pretty much skipped over that and went to what is infrastructure as code and started to chop that up.
Can I say one thing about that? What is DevOps section? Yeah. They mentioned the term snowflake servers, and there is we're going to get to it because I'm going to bring it up probably multiple times in the IAC section, and just put a pin in that phrase. That's all.
Okay.
Put a pin in it.
I will literally write down snowflake server so we can come back to it.
So let's get into it.
All right. So he broke down 5 broad categories of infrastructure as code tools: ad hoc scripts, configuration management tools, server templating tools, orchestration tools, and provisioning tools. In my notes, I didn't write down all the tools in these particular categories, but I've touched all of them, I will say, in my career. And I mean, I've got horror stories probably working with, each and every single one of them, starting with ad hoc scripts. Yeah, that's it's fraught with problems when you're working with scripts. Yeah, it just full of potential error on the human and the automation side, because you can break stuff very easily. Just as what I want to say, as performant and helpful as these scripts are, they just got like rough edges and jagged, sharp things all over them. And I guess I won't put a pin in my story where I've written scripts that were very helpful in removing instances from AWS that were not responsive. But I didn't have my filter correct in my command line, so I turned everything off. It's like there was no logic behind my infrastructure as code script. So, but fortunately, I had other automation in place to turn everything back on, redeploy stuff, and so we got over that incident.
That's what I'm talking about. But boy, I could see your face now.
Yeah.
The
No, you couldn't see my face because I was face palm like this.
Oh, okay. I can only imagine. Control C doesn't work in the CLI.
We got, shout out to the folks that are joining us live. Tech Coach
Tell
Ralph.
them again, please. Tell them.
You can't undo. Yeah, if you're running that script and that script does what it's supposed to do, whether you configure it to do it or not, you can't Control Z. It's very difficult. And
when those words start flying past real fast and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's not.
Yes, indeed.
We have all had some F-ups like that in our lives, and we're still here to tell the tale. Okay, we are still here. So anyway, so ad hoc scripts, we've all done them. They're basically the building blocks of everything you've learned. When you've learned it, you do a quick hitter. Like, this can do something real fast. I can just do what I need to do. No muss, no fuss. But that was more commonplace back in the day. Yeah. And now there's this thing called configuration management and change logs, and there's processes around everything. And depending on the size of the organization you're working in, you're probably still getting away with ad hoc scripts because you can. But then you move into bigger organizations or government agencies or, huge companies where it's like, nope.
Yeah.
You need some sort of epic and a task assigned to you to do said do said task. So things have changed, but in some respects, they haven't changed too much.
Yeah, very true. And I think with that sort of governance, it kind of brought along these other categories of tool, the configuration management tools, the server templating, orchestration, provisioning, because then you sort of have that oversight over, what the scripts or what the configurations are supposed to do. And then also, depending on the system, who ran them, when they ran them, what were the changes, that type of stuff. You can capture some of that. Terraform does a great job, particularly when it's orchestrated, of capturing all that kind of stuff. And if you tie it with AWS, you got CloudTrail and all the kinds of services that help you figure out who did what in the cloud. So yeah, it's good for that stuff. But I think the problems that we had with scripts led to configuration management tools like Chef, like Puppet, like Ansible.
You know which one is missing?
Which one?
Salt.
Salt was not mentioned in here.
I was surprised at that because that was a big back in before Ansible. They were the big three: Puppet, Chef, and Salt. Yeah.
And it's interesting. I have used Chef and Puppet quite a bit in my career. I never used Salt though.
I tried Salt and I've only used Puppet back in the day.
But yeah, that's a very good point though, that Salt was missing. I didn't even think about it. That's when I was reading it. But yeah, very, very true. And I was trying to think if I have anything else to say about like server templating. I can't, no tool. I can't forget what, or I can't recall what he mentioned in the book, but none are coming to mind right off the top of my head.
Are we talking about configuration management?
Well, I was looking at server templating, but yeah, it's all
sorry,
par for the course.
Server templating. Yeah. So have you ever used OpenStack Heat?
He did mention that one in the book.
Okay. And
I've never used it, but yeah,
okay.
He did mention it.
Gotcha. What are we talking about in the comments? Because there's a lot going on. We should probably address those.
Yeah, no doubt. So Tech Coach Ralph says you got to be careful with salt because it leads to high blood pressure.
There's no lies told. I forget who owns it now. Is it Borcom or something? I don't know. Maybe that's why we're not hearing about it. Pulumi. That's more provisioning.
Well. That's more provisioning. Well, but it's also like infrastructure as code too, because that gets into the next conversation. I mean, because we could talk about the benefits. This like all the 5 broad categories, I think kind of gives you the history of infrastructure as code and some of like the different, types of infrastructure as code tools. And if I fast forward to provisioning tools like Chef, Puppet, and Ansible, I see them basically based on my experience of using them over the years as provisioning tools. However, they've been hooked in or looped in to do infrastructure as code. And by that, I mean deploying resources, deploying servers, and so on and so forth. But we also talk about, the author talks about later on, like using these tools together. So that paradigm, I'm getting ahead of myself, where you use Terraform to deploy your stuff and then use Ansible to configure it. I use that approach all day, not every day, but a lot to manage infrastructure, because Terraform does what it does, and it does it very well. And Ansible does what it does, and it does that stuff very well. So you can use them together.
I honestly think the Ansible with Terraform is like the perfect IAC configuration management sandwich. Like you put those two bad boys together and you can do just about anything. It's really limitless. And the fact that Terraform has so many different providers, and you can run your Terraform code up against your multi-cloud environment, your on-prem environment, and then of course Ansible can jump up in there and do the configuration management for perpetuity, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're really not using a mutable, where something like rel image mode comes in and you're like, we're not touching anything, we're deploying new images, we're just pushing it out. So why Terraform? This is a great name of the chapter, because it's a great tool. I mean, it works everywhere.
Yeah. And that's the benefit too, where and I think he kind of gets into that when he gets into the discussion. How does Terraform compare to other IAC tools? Is that Terraform is basically an API integration tool when you really get down to it. So if there's anything, and it doesn't even have to be infrastructure per se, that has that API that it can connect to using a provider, then you can orchestrate your entire flow of deploying something, setting up the observability with a different provider, and then like setting up some other process to install it. You can do that whole flow using Terraform, where some of the other tools, you can maybe do it, maybe not. But if you can, it's not going to be as straightforward or easy when you're using Terraform to do that. So yeah, I guess we're already getting into the benefits of using infrastructure as code.
Jumping the gun as usual.
I know, right? I'll just read through the list, and we can chop it up as you see fit. Number 1, self-service. Number 2, speed and safety. Number 3, documentation. Number 4, version control. Number 5, validation. Number 6, reuse. And I'm glad he said this one. He closed the list out with number 7, happiness. Okay. Using infrastructure as code can definitely make your DevOps staff, your SREs, even your developers, it can indeed make them happy. So yeah, shout out to IAC.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, but and self-service, that's the big part of it, because that's the one thing that I hated when back in the day, and back in the day is honestly not that long ago, when you're like, hey, I need a server, and you put in a ticket to IT, and they're like, okay, we'll get to it. Maybe they got the hardware, maybe they don't, maybe they're provisioning a VM for you, and they do it, and they're like, okay, here's your login. Okay, maybe that's the next day, or next week, or however long it takes, whatever. Now it's pretty much, hey, here's the code. Give me my server. Oh, and you're connected. It's in your console. You can
How
log
about
in.
that?
You can do whatever you do. Boom, you got it.
So the ability to have people provision their own systems and not, put a ticket in, approve the ticket, the instant gets spun up, they get an email. Like that is that I would say I don't miss the good old days, because this level of automation where you can just have that self-service and request what you want. Even let me just back it up a little bit. Yes, you can do this with your ticketing tool, right? Have an approval process, push things out. If you have a what do they call it? Like ServiceNow, and ServiceNow, once it gets approved, it can kick off a ticket, and it does all of the work. Once the boxes have been checked to what someone wants, Terraform, Ansible can jump in there and do all the things. So again, I think those two tools are really good together, and I have nothing bad to say about either tool. And the fact that we're in here talking about them, and there is a question that I wrote in the margins, and what are the benefits? Is Terraform the best IAC tool? So everybody's listening. I want to hear your opinion. What is the best IAC tool that you've ever used? Feel free to share that. I have my opinions on, because I have my opinions on everything. But, I have my opinions, but I want to hear what everybody else says. Is Terraform the best IAC tool? And then we'll continue. We'll move on to the rest of the chapter, but we want to hear what folks have to say about that.
I'm gonna write that one down too. We'll circle that.
Please, you keeping track of all the pins.
Trying to.
I so appreciate that.
Trying to. I guess
is my shirt a giveaway? Is my shirt a giveaway?
Yeah, that's Team Ansible right there. All day. Yeah.
So, what's next? We are still in chapter 1.
Yeah.
We're talking about how does it compare? Let's talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. Indeed. Well, and so and I guess reading the book, Jim, and I'll call him Jim because I can't pronounce. I won't say I can't pronounce it. I don't want to butcher the author's first or last name, but he provides us with. Thank you so much. But he does provide us with the shortcut of just calling him Jim. So I'm gonna rest. I
can appreciate that.
Yeah,
okay.
So we're just gonna go forward with that. So Jim, as he's writing this book, comes from the point of working at Gruntworks, which is a consultancy software development company that makes basically infrastructure as code management tools. They are like the DevOps practitioners that apply the tools to help people out. And they've got their own tooling that they develop to work with the tools that they use. And so he wrote this book from the perspective, or rather from that perspective, and provided this particular comparison or list of comparison points for why they picked Terraform. So again, I'll just run through the list. There's 10 of them, so bear with me. I'll probably have to take a deep breath in the middle of this. Number 1, configuration management versus provisioning. Number 2, mutable infrastructure versus immutable infrastructure. Number 3, procedural language versus declarative language. Number 4, general purpose language versus domain specific language. Number 5, master versus masterless. Number 6, agent versus agentless. Number 7, paid versus free. Number 8, large community versus small community. Number 9, mature versus cutting edge. And number 10, use of multiple tools together. So while everybody's thinking of is Terraform the best answer, keep these 10 points in mind.
Yes.
because that's kind of where he came from to make his decision. He used this grid and put everything in there and used that as his data-driven decision to say, yeah, Terraform is the best for us. It's not going to be the same for everybody, but that's sort of the approach that he offered to make that decision.
Awesome. Well, thanks for running through that list of, again, keep it in mind while you're deciding what your favorite IAC tool is. But do you want to start talking about some of these trade-offs that he mentioned?
Yeah, for sure. Well, we already kind of talked about configuration management versus provisioning. Terraform's a good provisioning tool.
For sure.
Maybe not so much so for configuration management, depending on the way that you're using it. I would like to touch on point number 3, which is procedural language versus declarative language.
Oh, yeah.
And he went into some pretty interesting detail to say that some of the other tools, Chef and Ansible Puppet kind of falls into the same category, where you define the procedure for the tool to do what it's supposed to do, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But with Terraform, it's declarative. You just say, this is what I want. I don't care what you do to deploy it or to give it to me. Just do it. But this is the desired state that I want. So Terraform says, okay, you give me all this. You need a security group, EC2, load balancer, blah, blah, blah. So I need to create the security group first. Then I'll create the EC2s, and then I'll create the load balancer, and then I'll create this target group and listeners, and I'll hook it all together. But if I was to do that as a human, I might not know that order is needed. So I'll create my target group first. That's going to fail, maybe because there's no EC2s to go in it. I'll create my EC2s. That's going to fail because the security group's not there. I'll create my load balancer, but okay, maybe by that point, the target group's working, the EC2's working, so I have to know the order, and all this stuff needs to be created.
Yes.
But when you're declarative, you just say, hey, this is what I want. You don't have to declare, you don't have to define the procedure.
That's a GOAT move right there, because sometimes when you're putting the cart before the horse and you're trying to understand that's a lift. And the fact that Terraform just knows, based on the provider gives it so much inherent knowledge about the destination in which you are deploying this information, it just knows. And that's very helpful. That's very helpful. And if you are doing things incorrectly and you are building out whatever you're building out and you're making those omissions, it's going to tell you, like, we're missing something here. So it is actually very helpful when Terraform is done well. Then you can just say, here, I declare that you will give me XYZ, and you get it. So it is a really great tool. So yes, declarative versus procedural language. You said you worked with Chef and Puppet back in the day.
Yes.
What was your I'm assuming this was pre-Terraform. And if it was, what was your opinion of those tools and your experience?
I liked them for the way that I was using them. I wasn't using them for infrastructure as code. I messed around with it as Terraform was starting to come in, because, to all the points that we've discussed, I could see that Chef and Puppet and Ansible can deploy infrastructure. Right. But it wasn't or at the time, maybe it's gotten better. Those tools weren't as smart as Terraform, because if you tell Terraform, I need a web server, or not even that, I need a server. Terraform's going to say, here's your server. And then if you run that command again, say, I need a server, Terraform's going to say, I already made your server, you're good. On the other side, if you tell Ansible, I need a server, boom, there's your server. And then you say, I need a server, guess what? You got another one. So Ansible every time you tell it you need a server, it's just going to keep giving you a server. Terraform's not going to give you another server until you tell it, I need 2. So it just showed that it was smarter about the desired state of the whole thing.
Now, I will say this about Ansible. I'm gonna just get off my horse for a second. The example you gave was absolutely spot on. However, when you're doing configuration management, of which I think Ansible does a really good job of that, you could run the code to create a web server, configure the http.conf, do all these things, firewall rules and everything. and you run it again, it's like, well, you already did this. I don't need to do. So it to that extent, it can be very declarative. But in the infrastructure, the example you gave proves that not every tool is the best tool for the situation. Terraform is leaps and bounds over other tools because of that one feature. It's like the feature. It's really leaps and bounds above other tools just because of that.
Yeah, no, yeah, and that's totally perfect and valid point, because I use Ansible to patch servers, and sometimes I'll be like, I patched the test environment. Did I patch? Or, I moved through test, dev, staging, whatever. And I'm at production. I'm like, dang, did I do development? And I'll run the Ansible command again. It's like, yeah, you did it. Yeah, it's patched. No changes needed, zero changes.
It's what, so okay at the bottom.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's good. But I guess moving forward a little bit to master versus masterless, agent versus agentless, the Chef and Puppet approaches do require masters and agents.
Yeah, they do.
So
and Salt did too, didn't it?
Yes. Okay. Salt was big on agents and the master as well. So then you got this one server to manage all the servers. The servers that are being managed, they need this thing installed on them. That's the agent. And depending on the scale of the infrastructure that you're managing, you may need additional servers for your master so that you're highly available. And then you have this sort of chicken and egg scenario. It's like, well, how do I get the agent on the servers? Because I'm not managing them yet, but I need that agent on there so I can manage them. Okay, well, you got to figure that out. And Chef, which is the one that I'm most familiar with, it has ways to like bootstrap servers and, kind of get them set up so that they can, know which master they need to reach out to. And the master says, okay, I'll bring you on board. And it kind of figures everything out. But still, it's just kind of like, this funky scenario. Whereas Ansible is just like, give me that SSH key. And guess what? I'm in there. I'm in there. Like no agents, no master. Well, basically the system that you're using is the master. It could be your laptop, it could be another server, it could be whatever.
It could be
all it needs. Yeah, it just needs that SSH key or whatever other communication method you're using, and it's in.
That's entirely true. So you just weighed the benefits and the not great benefits of having you. That's another thing that you have to manage and secure in your infrastructure. Now, for most organizations, that's totally fine. Like they'll get on board with that, but some organizations, depending on what your method of, I don't want to say operations, but however you choose to do your thing, there is no wrong way for your organization, especially if you've done the vetting to understand what works best for you. So if you're talking about agent versus agentless, depending on your organization, having an agent might not be a bad thing. Now, the argument I hear a lot is paid versus free.
Yep, and that's a point.
And so let's talk about that for a second. So you can use Terraform for free, right?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. You can also pay. You can hand over a truckload of money to HashiCorp, which is now an IBM company, to use their cloud, to interact with Terraform. Yep. I can tell you what, though, it's going to be hecka more expensive than using your own S3 bucket, your own CI/CD or whatever to manage your Terraform, because they charge by the resource.
I thought you would say charge by the minute. I'm like,
no, they charge management by the resource.
Yikes!
I haven't gone. Yeah, so you can imagine, like the folks that I work with, they operate resources at tremendous scale. So you could have hundreds, if not thousands, of resources to manage, and that's going to cost you a bucket of money versus maybe having a few KB, maybe a meg of something sitting in S3.
Yeah,
and that S3 content is version, so if something breaks, you can back it up and do all this other kind of stuff. They're doing that for you, but they're just charging you a whole heck a lot more money. There is another option Tech Coach Ralph mentioned. As far as a paid resource, we're using Terraform, Spacelift. is another provider that kind of does that paid offering for you. But yeah, you could totally use Terraform for free. All you need is, you don't even need a S3 bucket for real, if you don't mind keeping your state file, on your local computer. But yeah, you got options.
You have options. The last three, community, being able to Google or go on Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
What are you getting versus we've all had the opportunity to, put an error message in somewhere and, someone say, yeah, this doesn't belong in this channel, put it somewhere else. But after that, once your message arrives at the right section of Stack Overflow, someone in the community is going to come in and provide you with some sort of advice for free. And we have access to the internet for free. And we have now all of these AI tools well, depends on how you use it, for free. So do we think that negates the need in some organizations, because we have this community and we have this ability to self-service some of our tooling? I have an argument for the other side as well, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I think the community is valuable. It doesn't necessarily have to be large or small. I think that just the size of the community only gives you more opinions and experience to choose from. But if you have a small community that's very experienced in using the tool, and that's the tool that you pick, hey, then reach out to those folks, get familiar with those folks, and then you can, interact with them. So yeah, I don't care what you're using. I'm gonna lean on AI. I'm gonna lean on Stack Overflow or whatever the case is. But I do think the community is necessary.
Agreed. So have we decided what's our choice of IAC tool?
Okay. Well, I am prepared to offer my opinion, because there's one tool that we didn't really get into in this discussion of all the tools that we mentioned.
Okay.
And Jim, the author of the book, also considered it in his particular matrix of tools to choose from. And it is CloudFormation. Now, I'll put a pin in CloudFormation, and I'll just point at all the other cloud providers. They have some sort of native infrastructure as code tool that interacts specifically with their cloud platform. Now, and people are clouding me in the comments, y'all, but I will say I appreciate CloudFormation and cloud platform specific IAC tools, because Terraform takes a lot of setup. I'd like Terraform for what it is. And for me, as a practitioner who's familiar with AWS, who's familiar with other cloud or online providers, I can set up an environment pretty quickly that works for me. But if I'm trying to teach somebody something, I don't want to tell them, okay, create an AWS account. Okay, now set up your local terminal. Create an AWS profile. Now I want you to create an S3 bucket. Well, what's the S3? There's like so many of these things that I would have to get out of the way before I can even get them to understand what they need to do to set up Terraform. It all takes away from the point that I'm trying to get to. If I'm just trying to get them to interact with a web server, I don't want them to have to worry about Terraform. I want to give them a CloudFormation template, and I want to say log into AWS, go to CloudFormation, click upload, and then click next.
Oh,
yeah. And see, that's what I say. They're clowning me in the comments. I appreciate your tech coach, Ralph. He's saying they should already know those things before getting into infrastructure as code.
Oh my gosh!
True. But no, that's a good point though, because I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm talking like going all the way to infrastructure as code. But if I'm trying to work with somebody who doesn't care about infrastructure as code, I just want to get them to the web server or to the Jenkins server or to whatever the app is. Okay, thank you, Sterling. I guess there was, maybe I didn't hear you. Angela must have had an audible sigh when she heard me say CloudFormation.
I mean, I use CloudFormation, so I'm waiting. I want to hear more about why you chose that one, and you're giving your reasoning for behind it.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, for the most part, I like CloudFormation when I'm trying to get somebody onto a cloud platform without having to go through a whole bunch of different steps to get to the thing, whatever that thing is, that thing that is not infrastructure as code, the thing that is the server, the application, whatever it is. Yeah. Okay. Derek says Ansible for me right now, but I do a lot of non-cloud infra. True. So I will say it depends. It'll be CloudFormation on one hand, it'll be Terraform on the other hand, depending of the situation and the scale. And I'm going to stop talking now and go back through some of these comments.
Yes.
And see who I need to call out.
Please do. Okay. So I am not a CloudFormation basher. The sigh was, I knew he was going to say that. Like that was my sigh. So let me course correct. I think Terraform, excuse me, we're talking about Terraform and it's on the screen in front of me. I think CloudFormation is good for what it's good for. It's great for writing templates for AWS infra. Mm-hmm. But that's all it does. She's a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
And more and more companies. I did ask. I thought Angela asked what was the best IAC tool. Yes, I did. I want to know what that is. I mean, I'm sure everybody who's listening to this now live and in the future is going to have an opinion about and is going to have an opinion about an IAC tool. I know somebody who works at Pulumi, and I'm sure he has an opinion about his IAC tool, right? So everybody is invested in something at this point. And for me, because I only work in AWS, I would have to say, okay, maybe CloudFormation, but I will put together some Terraform in a whole minute and just it depends. It depends for me.
It does depend.
Now, before I started this last role, the job that I hold right now, I was Team Ansible. You couldn't tell me. Shirt will tell you. I'm Team Ansible. Was all the time. Now, to this day, I still like Ansible, but now that I'm getting into Terraform, slowly but surely, like he said, my fits and starts with trying to get involved with it and learn more about it. I see its benefits. I see what the possibilities are. And I'm so interested in taking my learning forward, right? Yes, we can do something really quickly, but to be very detailed, depending on the size of the infra that it's managing, it can be very complicated. And I would love to better understand that. So yes, that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm on the fence. Terraform is great. CloudFormation is awesome for all things AWS. Ansible is that girl, so look at me, just all over the place.
Yeah. Well, we're going to pull you down off of that fence to the Terraform side as we move into chapter 2.
Okay. All right.
Because we're reading this book. We're going to get through it one way or another. And maybe then, maybe only after you've gone through all of this evolution of what is Terraform and why Terraform, as we kind of wrap up chapter 1, you can make an even better informed decision to say, like, Terraform is cool, but I could do everything I need to do with Ansible, so I'm just going to stick with that.
I will say this. Let's talk about the conclusion of chapter 1, just in case anyone's interested in how the author got to his decision. He created a table of a comparison of the most common ways to use popular IAC tools. So if you have access to the book, it goes over Chef, Puppet, Ansible, Pulumi, CloudFormation, Heat, and Terraform. And then it goes through, master versus agent, paid versus free, community, and its level of maturity. So if you are in the position where you're trying to decide on an IAC tool for your team or a project, I would definitely, maybe look into this and start your own comparison matrix to decide what's best for you and your organization. And if you come into a job and they're already using a thing, just jump on board.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, just jump on board. So are we ready for chapter 2?
We are. Chapter 2, Terraform syntax.
Is that what it's called in your book?
Let me double check.
Don't be making stuff up.
I'm trying not to. I copied this from my notes directly.
Oh,
My notes could be whacked.
good
Let me
Lord.
see.
Because
Here,
I'm
let me
like,
go to the actual book here. Okay, no, that's
Lord have mercy.
as I flip through my PDF pages. Chapter 2, Getting Started with Terraform.
There you go.
Yeah, you're
This
absolutely
book
right.
is literally a 40-page getting started guide with
Yeah.
Terraform. Wouldn't you say?
I will, but I have thoughts on this though as I update the banner for this totally in real time because I had that wrong.
Here we go. There we
Yeah,
go.
so we're legit now. I appreciate that he walked through the steps and the procedures that he did because he used real examples. He didn't just say like a lot of and I have to say programming languages because Terraform is kind of a programming language, it's declarative and all that other kind of stuff. But once we get past that, it's code, right? And when you're working with books or whatever you're following that describes code, they'll say, this is a variable, this is a parameter, this is how this happened, and they'll walk through everything, and then you get to an example. But he just like pretty much just brings us in, out of the gate and says, okay, we're going to deploy a web server.
Yep.
Bam, we do the web server.
I love
and then
that.
he says, oh, by the way, look at how this didn't work. Well, we can fix that with a variable. And then he introduces the concept of a variable and how that works. He talks about how the providers work. So it's kind of a long getting started, but it's like a combination of exercises and the practical knowledge that you need to get started.
I agree.
And that's the kind of way that I took it.
Yeah. I personally thought the way chapter 2 was like, we're going to get into it. I appreciated that. Honestly, if you have any knowledge about your cloud provider of choice, and this one just happens to be AWS, it's the one that I use, you have that frame of reference, you can go along so much easier because you understand all of the resources that he's talking about. You understand, when he's tying things together, how every resource has an option that you can pull information from if you want more information about said resource. So, yeah, so we have differing opinions on chapter 2. 40 pages. Most of it was images. Like let's be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
Most of it was images. Most of it was code snippets and things like that. So honestly, I think he did a really good job with taking you from zero to deployment in a short amount of time. So your mileage may vary if you read this book and you're getting into Terraform or just boning up. Your mileage may vary, but that was my takeaway.
Yeah, and I mean to kind of follow that, he went from a single web server to an auto scaling group. It's like he's like, hey, we're gonna do just a plain old vanilla server. Then we're gonna make it a web server. Now we're gonna configure this web server, and then we're gonna make a cluster. And guess what? Now we're gonna do an auto scaling group with a load balancer and a public IP. So it was a very, very practical progression of complexity that I think it really helped you get a grasp on the it did escalate, right? It gives you a grasp on what you can do with the language and how it kind of ties into all the other resources available. And I will say, for somebody who may be coming from a click ops approach, where you are in the console clicking around to deploy your servers and whatever else you're working on, showing those screens and like, hey, this is what you would see in the console, it kind of gives some visibility to what you're doing in the terminal, because you don't see that in the terminal. You do your apply, you do your plan, and I guess we can kind of talk about those, but you don't see the result of what you're planning and applying as visually as you can in the console.
That's true.
Yeah, but I will say as I mentioned, the Terraform workflow essentially is Terraform init. It sets you up to get everything started. Yep. Terraform plan, it shows you what it's about to do. Then Terraform apply, and it's like we're about to make things happen. Yeah,
that's it. And high level, that's exactly
Yes.
what this chapter did. It introduced a couple other commands that could be helpful for you if you're deploying, but that's literally it. And then if someone said it earlier, destroy.
Terraform destroy, for real.
Yeah, that one is a doozy. But I think in most environments, you're only destroying things if it's in like a dev test environment where you're spinning things up real fast and taking them back down. That's literally all I do is dev test, and I'm constantly, oh God, let me go ahead and spin up this environment again because I need to do this testing all over again and document it differently, whatever the use case is for. So I think it's so chapter 2 I liked. RTFM. Yes, me and my disdain for, I don't want to say disdain because that feels, I don't rock with Ubuntu. I just don't.
We both had kind of a I don't know, a come to Linux moment.
we work separate and apart when we read these books. So
So just to kind of catch up, the folks that are listening and rocking along with us.
Yes.
So we borrowed code, and actually I have a couple banners to share. The author provides a repository where you can find this code. You can find it on GitHub in the Terraform Up and Running code repository. We're working with the 3rd edition.
Yes.
So I pulled the code from this repository. I'm assuming you did the same thing.
Yes.
And we started working with it, working through the examples: single server, web server, configure web server, cluster of web servers, and then load balancer. And in his examples, and I mean, this is the stuff that you'll know if you are familiar with AWS. The AWS regions were hard-coded. The AMIs were hard-coded, which makes sense because AMI IDs are tied to a region. So if you're working with that specific region, then you got to use that ID. I prefer to set stuff up so that it just picks up an ID automatically. And we can talk about that maybe a couple episodes down when we get into tips and tricks.
I like that.
Now, at the same time, and this is where we ran into a problem, the author used AMIs for Ubuntu. And we were like, okay, Ubuntu, I love it for my desktop. Whenever I install a Linux desktop, it's almost always Ubuntu based, no matter what the distribution is.
Is it?
But when for real. And we can come back to that if you want to talk about that. But when I'm deploying servers in the cloud, particularly in AWS, I almost always go with AWS Linux.
Yep.
So I threw out all his AMI IDs. I'm like, later for this, I'm gonna bring my own AWS Linux in, set everything up, ran through Terraform, plan, apply. It's great. It's up and running. Hold up, wait, 502 gateway error. It was like, nothing was working. And you are the one who revealed to me why it was not working.
How we have the same experience.
We just care to share.
So when I say disdain, do I really mean it? No, not really, because I used to use Ubuntu back in the day. So I don't mind it, but I prefer give me an RPM based OS.
Okay.
That's all your girl's saying. That's I'm not gonna say yes. That was a rough, harsh word. Ubuntu ain't do nothing to me. So yeah, I apologize for for saying that.
Yeah.
So after a bunch of troubleshooting and realizing the error of our ways, what do you think?
I mean, well, the error was BusyBox. The author used BusyBox for the web server, and BusyBox was not installed by default. I guess it's installed by default on Ubuntu, but it's not installed by default on Amazon Linux 2023, which was the image that we were using. I mean, I don't have any working code to show right now, but as soon as we wrap, I'm going to go back and try to figure everything out so that so that I can get my servers working. Tech Coach Ralph, we didn't break it. We modified it in a way that wasn't letting it operate the way it was supposed to be.
Exactly. So but give us a break. We got day jobs. We trying to read these chapters and get this code in. So I will share something with you. I did the exact same thing he did. Yes. Couldn't get to the BusyBox web server, not realizing it wasn't on AL 2023. So of course the security group doesn't have port 22 open, so I couldn't use Instance Connect to get in there and see what was up. And so the first thing I did was, this is how Angela thinks, forgetting it was BusyBox. Well, let me see if the Apache servers is started. So I'm doing system CTLs, and I'm like, all right, let me go back to the code. What are we doing here? Oh, it's BusyBox. And I was like, oh, okay. No wonder it's not working in 2023. So, RTFM, pay attention.
You got it. Definitely got to follow the instructions. Right?
Yeah, but to your point, I 100% agree with you, because again, I'm not a Terraform power user by any stretch. I'm trying to grasp this, but through those mistakes, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes more sense. Oh, so I keep having these discovery moments as I'm doing my very best not to like copy and paste out of the repo. And just kind of like working through it, doing my very best, trying to do that. So it was a learning experience. That's all I'm going to say. Like you have to get the error messages. You have to bump your head a couple times so you can understand that. I'm assuming that's how you're going to learn this. That's how I'm going to learn it. So that's
you got to do it. You got to break it and then fix it. And really, when you fix it, that's when it sticks in your brain. That's when you really understand how everything's supposed to work. And the other thing, I mean, again, we're talking about breaking it. You added port 2020 or port 22 to your security group. So I added a instance profile, which basically gave it an IAM role that adds SSM managed instance. So then I could go to the console and just click connect, or from the command line, I could do AWS SSM start session, and then give it the instance ID. And then that drops me into a shell right on the server. So when I'm setting up, when I'm setting up servers in AWS, that's pretty much the way that I start, so that I can connect to them and debug them. But again, getting to the point that the author wanted to get us to, that's overkill, because that's not necessarily important. Number one, if you follow his instructions and use the image ID that he recommended, maybe you have to update it, because I think it was Ubuntu 20.04.
Yeah.
So maybe we have to update it to 24.10, I think might be the latest one, or is 20.
Or you do like me and just leave it the way it is.
Yeah, or just make sure you're in the right region so everything works.
Right. That was huge.
Yeah, that's a good start. Yeah, you don't have to go through all these other like, oh, I know AWS, and then hack the code, break it, fix it, do all this other crazy stuff.
So, I mean, I started. Let me go back through where I left off, because when I told you I had the issue, I was at the point where I was adding the launch configuration and the ASG. I was about, again, bumping my head up against it. And I said, okay, I've done something wrong. Let me go back to the beginning. And then I went back through, and I am currently on, where am I? Is this a cluster of web servers? Hold on. Let me see where I left off. Yeah, I think I'm at the point where right before deploying a load balancer.
Okay.
And then I ran my code. I ran my Terraform, and I'm getting a bunch of error messages. So, which means I need to go look at his code, because I was like typing it as I go. Like, I just want to see what I didn't want to copy and paste, because that's immediately going to work. But it's not giving me the muscle memory to understand, well, let me put all my logically, I'm going to put all my resources together. Okay, I'm going to put my variables and my data at the bottom, just because that and the output, that works better for me. And that's not even the order in which they introduced it. It just, again, visually, that makes more sense for me. And this is very self-documenting to some extent. Not like Ansible self-documenting, but it's very documenting to the point that, okay, you want me to share my screen? Because it's so embarrassing.
Yeah. No, please.
Maybe you can help me fix my problem.
Maybe we could do some live debugging right here in the stream.
Shucks.
Hang in there with us, folks, as we get set up to do some live debugging.
I have no
While
idea.
you're pulling your screen up, I did want to say I appreciate that you actually typed the code in. So I made my own repo. I pulled down a zip of the author's repo and I copied the code over and I started working with it from there.
Okay.
But I think to your point, if you're new with Terraform and you're learning the syntax, if you're learning the variables, if you're learning the ins and outs of what's a resource, what's a variable, what's an output, and the actual way that you reference those things in the code, because it's entirely different whether it's a resource, a variable, if it's data, if it's an output, and so on and so forth. When you're typing it, that's when it's going to stick in your brain, so that you know when you have to do it from scratch, when you don't have any code to rely from, you know how you're supposed to type it in, you know how it's supposed to look, and you can work with it that way.
So let me share my screen.
Okay, please.
Share. Okay. And
I will add it to the stage.
Okay, good. Okay, so I was able to deploy my instance into AWS using the code that was walked through in the book. So in the very beginning, like you said, it started with just deploying a web server, but it was useless because there was no security group to give you access. It was nothing that turned it into a real web server until later down the line. So as the pages went on, you were amending this Terraform file with more and more information. So you wanted to make sure that this was added somewhere along the line, because you didn't want them to go ahead and wholesale destroy your environment without waiting until the other instances were up and running. That was the first thing. I've since gotten rid of my my port 22, because once you follow the instructions, you don't need to try to get a backdoor way into the system. So that worked for me as well. I was just adding in the rest of the information, the auto scaling group, the what's the other thing? Launch configuration. And I'm going to show you my errors. So keep your eyes peeled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's just move you out of the way. And this is where I am. It worked. I kept saving it, stopped at load balancer. If you can see, I was like, I'm going to stop right here.
Yeah.
And put this code away before I go any further and start breaking stuff. So this is where I am. Missing arguments. The image ID is required, but no definition. So I was like, oh yeah, you have to change. I'm assuming this is what we're talking about, where you have to change it from AMI, when it was the resource for just the AMI, to change it into the launch configuration. You have to direct it to an image. Am I on the right track?
I believe you are.
Okay. All right. So I haven't run it again since I changed it from AMI to image ID. So we're gonna work our way down this code and see if we can get this bad boy to run. Okay.
Yeah.
So this one I think is remedied. Let me check here. Web server cluster. I think this might be the one. Let's look at main. So at some point, he has the outputs and variables out separate. He does not do that in the chapter by any means. So what I did was I added the outputs, and I think I might have missed one. There's one output. That's not even the one that I have. The variables. So I think I have to copy all of these back into the main file. For some reason, it is not calling for, again, running it. It won't use these variables. I've done this a few times at this point. So let's look at it. And it balked at the AMI. So I went on ahead and changed that. Let's go back to the code and see where our next error message is. Line 55. Okay. Output public IP, value AWS instance example public IP. It's not been declared in the root module.
Okay, so do you want me to break this down for
Yes,
you?
we're
Okay.
learning here.
Yeah, indeed. And I can totally see where this might have been confusing as you move from the first example to this example, which is if I'm recalling correctly, is this the web server? I'm sorry, the cluster? Or you're doing the scaling group, right?
I am in the launch cluster of servers. Launch
Okay.
configuration, auto scaling group, create before destroy. Yes, that adding the data that is in the cluster of web servers section.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so if you pulled this from the previous example, then in that example, you had a resource called AWS instance example. And based on
Yes.
that, you were able to pull the public IP.
Yes.
In this particular configuration, you don't have an AWS instance because your auto scaling group is going to create the
Oh,
instances for you. So you can do what you're trying to do here, but you have to do it in sort of a sneaky, very funky sort of way, which I think is beyond the scope of the discussion that we're having right
I
now.
agree.
We'll get to it down the road.
So I should
But
have deleted this instead of
yes,
adding the other. Okay, so I'm going to delete this because
yeah,
what you said just made perfect sense.
yeah. In this case, you don't want to reference any IPs directly to the instances that are in the auto scaling group. Number one, because they're going to go away. They're going to come and go
Exactly.
as the auto scaling group creates them and deletes them. And they're probably not even going to have a public IP when you finish your apply, because the auto scaling group is going to start. It's going to
Exactly.
realize that, oh, I have to deploy, you see your min size on the screen is 2. It's like, oh, I've got to deploy 2 servers. So it's going to deploy 2, and then it's going to connect them to your load balancer because they're friends like that and everything's good. But by the time your apply finishes, all that stuff is yet to happen. So those IPs aren't even there.
Yes.
So yeah,
Okay.
that fixes that error.
So that's one of them. Somewhere down here is what I can't tell which one it is.
Line 55. You want to look at line 62?
Okay, so this is good. This is also AWS. This is data. Okay, reference to undeclared resource. A data resource AWS VPC default has not been declared in the root module. Okay, so again, in this chapter, this is the code that's on the page. This is the code that's on the page. So maybe what I'm assuming was this like an example? Because I'm reading it on page 70 where you can it says you can combine this with another data source, AWS subnets, to look up the subnets within the VPC. And then finally you get to pull the subnet ID using the VPC zone identifier option in the AWS auto scaling group. So this was all the code in the book. So I'm assuming there was probably some things that needed to be edited and removed. He never said anything about that. So as the code goes on and you're building, he I don't want to say drop the ball, but he didn't say, okay, this is where we're going to edit this here, remove this, add it in. He only said that for the instance, changing it to a launch configuration very clearly in the beginning. He said that very clearly. So this is me being very literal in going through this chapter. So, okay. All right. So what else do we see? What else?
Well, let's fix this one because I can tell you exactly what's wrong with it on
line page
line 55.
Yep.
That's where the definition starts. It kind of got pushed down from some other changes. But in this case, the data definition is correct. Data AWS subnets default. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
The problem, it references data.aws _VPC.
Yeah.
And your configuration probably doesn't have that present. So that's the one that's missing, basically.
It's missing this.
If you look on your line 59 presently.
Yes.
Inside that values list, that the resource is data.aws _VPC, and then the resource name is going to be default. That's not defined in your configuration.
Okay. All right. Let me take a look at the example web server cluster. I'm assuming it's this one. Okay. Let's see. It was VPC ID is what I'm looking for.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So This is the load balancer example, unfortunately. Oh, okay. He doesn't have, am I missing something?
I'm not sure. Let me see. I'll go to my terminal and see if I can see where he defined it.
Because I think he we don't have a folder for, we're number 2. We have one server, we have web server with bars, we have web server cluster. But the cluster section is, I think he conflates everything together in this last folder, because he has a separate file for his data, his outputs. He has a separate file for his variables. He does none of that in chapter 2. None of it. And I read the whole chapter. So
so there's one particular thing that you're missing. It's a resource, and it's pretty simple to add. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the best way to communicate it to you. It's in, or rather, which file it might be in. If you look on the web server cluster, look in main.tf.
In there. Yep.
Yeah. And then search for data or search for AWS _VPC.
Data. Oh, sorry. AWS underscore
VPC.
Okay.
Yeah. So see that line right there, line 61 through 63. That's the block that you need to add to your code to make it valid.
Gotcha.
So basically that just it doesn't turn the VPC on. By default, every AWS account has a default VPC. Putting that line in your Terraform just makes it visible to Terraform, because otherwise Terraform can't see it.
So I can, we'll get to the subnets, but I can just paste this here.
Yeah, you can just drop it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Next is reference to an undeclared resource. Oh, that's the one we just did. Okay.
Yeah, we just did that one.
Let's scroll down.
55 is fixed. That next one on line 55, that's gone.
Fixed.
And line 62 is gone.
62. Okay, so I think I need to save, maybe.
Yeah, save it and run a plan. See what happens.
Let's see. Terraform plan. Let's see what we got here.
And as we're waiting on that plan, I'm just looking at your prompt, and I see that you're running another Yum-based distribution, Fedora, for your terminal. Loving it.
Yeah, I'm using, WSL, and it's always going to be Rel, CentOS Stream. I'm such a one-trick pony anymore. Yeah, I'm that's just who I am. Okay, wait, we're down to just one error message on line 36, and this was the VPC zone identifier that was mentioned in here somewhere at this point.
Okay, so
finally, you can pull the subnet IDs out of the subnet data source and tell your ASG to use those subnets via the VPC zone identifier, and that lives in the auto scaling group. Okay, so let's look at our error. Inappropriate value for attribute VPC zone identifier, set of string required, but have string. Okay, that's not even English. So
it's not.
I thought it was me.
No. They did their best, but that is not proper English.
No, not at all.
So, but basically what it's saying is that what the API, because in the end we talked about how Terraform's an API interface thing, is trying to package some data to send to the AWS API, but it knows that the VPC identifier has to be a set of strings, but you've just passed one single string to it. So what we would do in this case is change that one single string to be a set of strings. Now I'm trying to recall what that set of strings is supposed to look like. But one thing that Jim also mentioned is that the Terraform online documentation is very, very good. And the way that I use it, I just copy and paste the resource into Google
as
or
well
wherever.
You should.
And usually the first result is the Terraform documentation. I click it and then I just read through it. Boom, 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 boom. And it gives me what I need to know. So I'm going to do a quick search on my side for AWS auto scaling group.
Do the absolute opposite of what you're doing.
Okay.
And let's see what we got here. What are we doing? Here we go. Here we go. Look at us. We're literally doing this off the rip.
I know, real time.
Oh gosh. I mean, we've done this before, but you're usually the one that's doing it because I'm like, okay, let's see what Mike has for us today.
And what's the one? It's VPC zone identifier. Okay. Yeah, basically, it is the looking at the documentation, the VPC zone identifier is expecting the IDs of the subnets.
That makes sense.
So you have the AWS default AWS underscore VPC dot default dot ID there.
Or
is it
as opposed to, like you said, as opposed to hard coding it, you use a identifier that will say, let me go ahead and pull all of the, I don't know if it should be private IDs because we're not in a private subnet. This is a demo. So it might be using public, but because I'm so curious, I want to see where it errors.
And I will say one other thing, because it's a set, you got to put brackets around it.
Oh, it is a set. Brackets around
that variable that you just entered.
Gotcha. Oh, brackets.
Yep. Yeah, square brackets. Yeah.
Gotcha. I think I saw that in the chat out the corner of my eye. Did someone else give me that sage advice?
I'm zoomed in on full screen, so I can't even see the chat right now, but I will step out to take a look at it.
All right. Let's see what we got here.
And
private IDs. And yes, AWS subnets private has not been declared in the root module. Okay, so I will now change that to the brackets and see what it does. Oh, we're gonna get this working. It's
gonna work. Something will work today, and I appreciate my man DB Darrell. If you're still rocking with us, he says that about Bash. It's like if you're using Bash, something will work today. So we're gonna apply that same thing to.
I know that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So how about so you're still looking at the documentation, right?
Yep.
I'm going to go back to the original main TF for this section, and I'm going to see what the author decided to do with the auto scaling group, because I see what he did in the book, and what he did in the book is what was in the file. So I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to go to what are we calling this? VPC zone. Where are you? Okay. This is what the his VPC zone identifier is data subnets defaults as opposed to private.
Private, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm also noticing he doesn't have brackets.
And he doesn't have brackets.
So it may be the case that when you use that .IDs plural, that it returns it already as a set or as a list or however you want to.
Right. Okay. So let's switch over. Yeah. We're just going to, what did we just do? Make sure I'm in the right place.
I think you're still on his.
Oh, yep, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had brackets. So I'm going to delete, put his in, save it, and redo a plan.
Yeah.
And while we're waiting for that, oh my God, we just all up in here. Look at that.
Look at that. You got a good plan, though. Won't he do it?
Won't he will. Okay. So do you see what just happened? We ran the look at what we're doing here. We ran the plan, and now we've remedied the issue, right? So this is literally what troubleshooting is all about. So it's going to add to resources. It's going to get rid of the existing server. I think I showed you that in the beginning, Terraform example. It's going to get rid of that. And it's going to pull the public IP of this new, I'm assuming, instance. I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and do a Terraform apply.
Yeah.
And watch the magic. And we can watch the magic in the console. Let's see what once it gets started. Okay. So, yes.
You have to say yes.
We got to say yes. And let's find where are we? Instances. Okay. So, here we are. And they are shutting down.
Yeah.
And it's still destroying.
So yeah, that instance, that's the one that you're getting rid of.
Yeah.
And if we stay on this screen long enough, and again, like it'll probably happen after your apply finishes, once that auto scaling group starts up, gets initiated, it's going to say, oh, I got to deploy 2 servers. And then you're going to see 2 servers pop up.
What did it say here? Error auto scaling. Create launch configuration. Response error code 400. API error, unsupported operation. The launch configuration created operation is not available in your account. Use launch templates. Oh, okay. Maybe he didn't update this from the old book.
And I was just about to say,
it is.
This may be like a configuration change, like an API change or something.
Okay. Use launch templates to create configuration templates for your auto scaling group. We're doing a launch config. And most people do launch templates. Could that be it? Should we turn this into a launch template instead?
Probably. And that's what let me see what I have in my code. I have, and he probably has it because I definitely didn't write this.
Okay.
AWS launch, if you go to his main.tf.
Main.tf, I'm there. What line?
All right. Well, you're looking at yours though.
Oh, well, I ain't gonna find it there.
And then you're going to look for, I'm on line, what line is this? Well, I don't know what line it is, but search for AWS _launch _template.
No result.
No results.
And I'm in chapter 2 under the web server cluster folder.
You know what? Yeah, I did something hacky, and shout out to Tech Coach Ralph telling me that I broke it. So I rehacked I redid his launch configuration.
Okay.
To install the SSM agent because you need the agent for this managed profile to work so that you can connect to it. So I reworked my launch template to be what it needs to be.
And you used a launch template. You didn't use a launch config. I
did use a launch template. Yeah, I did.
Let's just use CloudFormation. Okay. Look, Ralph.
Did he say? What did he say? I got to go to the.
Yeah, he did.
Let's just use CloudFormation.
We are reading this book, hook or crook. We're gonna do everything with cloud. Damn it, we're doing everything with Terraform this season. Absolutely everything. So we're gonna.
Yeah. No doubt.
We're going to rock out. So anyway, how about this? Because we have been at this for a minute.
For a minute. This might be a good spot to wrap.
So what I think, I'm going to change this into a launch template. I'm going to figure it out, make it work. And we'll at the beginning, we'll run this and see all the magic. And then we'll move into chapter 3, which is
let me get the
money
banner
shot,
as I take this off. Chapter 3, working with Terraform State, which we'll get into in the next episode. But before we get out of here, we had a pin in something. I'm still tracking my pins. Snowflake server. And I think we just might have seen some examples of Snowflake servers.
Yes. So to your point, okay, that was from the What is DevOps section on the very first page of chapter 1, I think. Anyway, I think I may have mentioned it. You know how to get rid of Snowflake servers? Idempotency, where it can't change, where that image is that girl, and that's it. You want to change it, you're going to have to deploy another image. So I have not come across an environment like that because we're making changes. We're going through change management to change systems, to patch during patch windows. We're always changing existing systems, as opposed to, some organizations where they throw the whole thing away and redeploy. Yeah. So that means this would never be a thing. This would never be this would be one and done. You would deploy that image, and it would be the extent of it. You wouldn't have to update it, patch it, because there'd be a brand new image when the time came for new updates, for new configurations and things like that. So that was the pin from the first page. Okay. Awesome. I got that in.
Cool. And the only follow-up I will say is he did talk about Packer, which is a tool that you can use for that particular approach. And I always appreciated teams that could basically use Packer to build their whole thing into an image and say, oh, it's deploy time, we're deploying this image, and you're good to go. Or if you're in auto scaling, you can apply true auto scaling, because you can add instances and they know what to do as soon as they start up. You don't have to deploy any code whatsoever.
Yeah.
The teams that I've worked with, we either never could get to a point where we were doing that, or the applications were such that, as you described, we deploy all these servers and then we deploy the app, and we just keep patching and updating the app. That's like a pretty common way.
It's very common.
But I give like all the credit and all the kudos to the people that can put everything they need to in a server image, and then when they need to patch, well, guess what? We already created the Packer image, or we use Packer to create the new AMI, so we're deploying this new AMI. And I think the best of that world, though, we've gotten through Docker images, because we can do pretty much the same thing. Everything's bundled into one thing, minus the operating system, minus the server configuration, and then you can deploy that Docker image wherever you need to deploy it. So snowflakes, they are definitely useful where they are, and yes, credit to the folks that are using them.
Heck yeah. Next week, working with Terraform State.
Yeah, and that's it's a good. I think that's a good segue, because that's the next important thing to understand with Terraform is like, okay, you're working on your little system, your little terminal, and you're making changes in AWS. But guess what? The record of those changes are just on your system. So you got to figure out a way, to share that. Otherwise, you might run into some problems down the road.
Oh yeah, you're gonna run into some problems.
Yeah.
So on that note. Oh, real fast. So I took a Terraform class earlier this year. I think I told you that.
Yes.
And I was like, I was so excited. Oh, great. They kept canceling it and pushing out. And I finally had a guaranteed to run course. Are you going to talk about State? He was like, oh no, that's not in this session. I was like, wait. The name of the course is Terraform on AWS. What do you mean you're not going to talk about State? So I gave him the business. I was like, this is not what I signed up for. But I sat through it. Great instructor for what it was. But when I say I learned this much, I didn't learn a thing. I wasted 2 days of my life in that course. Yeah. You know who you are, too. I'm not even going to put you on Front Street. Yes, Tech Coach Ralph remembers me mentioning that, because that was 2 days wasted. And when I say I should not be away from my job for 2 days, because I feel like I'm like so far behind when I come back, it wasn't worth it. So anyway, we're going to remedy that next week.
And I will go so far as to say that I bet you learned just as much, if not more, in this hour and 28 minutes that we've been talking.
You're
just
not
now
saying nothing but a word.
Yeah.
This was a teachable from cover to code session. And Tech Coach Ralph put the nail on the head. AI can't figure all this stuff out.
No, it cannot.
I am very happy we had this great live troubleshooting section. There is more to come, trust me, because if we're gonna be doing this for the rest of this season, y'all better buckle up. Because
lock in,
because we'll fix it. I will fix it. I'm going to move to a launch template away from a launch configuration. And I will edit this file, and we're going to deploy this cluster of servers, hook or crook. And if I'm feeling real sassy, I'm going to move into the load balancer portion of the last chapter, and we're just going to rock out. So we will be ready for chapter 3 next week, and I hope you are too.
Yeah, I cannot wait. We will see you all next time right here.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We
Thanks,
appreciate you.
everybody.